Egyptair claims they are undergoing a massive transformation. Modern aircraft, upgraded service, and a brand new experience. But is it all just clever marketing, or can they actually compete with the world's best?
Good morning and welcome to Manchester Airport. Here we're flying a brand new airline for me. It's Egyptair on their A321neo here from Manchester to Cairo. It should be a brand new aircraft. I'm really excited to see what's going to be happening on this flight because I actually have no idea what to expect. I have very mixed reviews. There's some good things and there's some also not very good things as well, so let's see what it's like.
On paper, this flight promises modern cabins, state-of-the-art in-flight entertainment, and top-tier hospitality. But between a delayed departure, ground handling chaos in Cairo, and waiting over an hour just to get off the tarmac after midnight, this journey was a complete roller coaster. In this video, we're going to cover everything: the seat comfort, the food, the service, and whether Egyptair's onboard experience can make up for a notoriously frustrating ground service. Is it worth booking, or should you stay far away? To find out, our journey starts right here in the UK. We've just arrived at Manchester Airport's Terminal 2 ready to check in and see how Egyptair handles things before we even hit the sky. Let's head inside and get checked in. Terminal 2 in Manchester is packed nowadays as all airlines are now using it apart from Ryanair, which is using T3. The queue for Egyptair's check-in was quite empty, but it quickly built up, and surprisingly the online checked-in queue ended up being shorter than the main queue. I also saw the staff checking in quite a few people's hand luggage to free up space in the overhead bins on the aircraft, as someone brought up to 11 carry-ons. After check-in, I headed seamlessly through security as I had purchased Fast Track, which was definitely worth it, and it was nice to be able to keep everything in my bag due to the new machines that had been installed.
Just finished security. We had Fast Track, so it was quite quick. There were some long queues to get in, especially if we got a Fast Track, but now that we're in, get into duty free.
Manchester Airport have been in the process of a £1.3 billion transformation programme for the past few years, and are currently in the third phase, where they have pretty much finished with the expansion and renovation of Terminal 2, and now are moving over to Terminal 1, hence most airlines are now using T2. Despite the terminal being new and having lots of restaurants and shops to offer, the overcrowding kind of ruins the experience, as every single restaurant had a queue and sitting areas were all full. There are two lounges here in T2, the Escape Lounge, which had a very long queue and is quite small from what I saw last time I used it, and the Executive Lounge, which has recently opened. If you want to see what the Escape Lounge looks like, make sure to watch my Qatar Airways 787 review from a few years ago after this video. I also managed to see Manchester Airport's new iconic umbrellas over the new Security East, which was nice to see in person after seeing it many times online. These have replaced the iconic chandeliers that were originally in Terminal 1 back in the day. Altogether, Terminal 2 does offer many options for shopping and eating, and it's nice to see lots of new retailers that have opened recently, including some high-end brands.
So the terminal is absolutely packed. There's not many places to sit, which is kind of fortunate because all the airlines are now using Terminal 2 here at the airport, apart from Ryanair, which is in T3. So if you struggle to stand up for long periods of time, you might want to bear that in mind. There are accessible zones, but yeah, they're still very busy. The airport is quite new and is going through a transformation program, and the airport spent over £1 billion on this, which is why all the airlines are currently using Terminal 2, because Terminal 1 is currently being redeveloped, which is good, but also, especially during the summer season, it puts a lot of strain on this one terminal. But Terminal 2 is good, it's all brand new, there are a lot of places to eat, even though they do get very busy, there's long queues outside of the restaurants. And there's good shops as well. So for a terminal as a whole, it is good. I'm now walking to the gate. It's gate A4, so I've heard. Hopefully getting there before everyone else, because they've not actually announced the gate, but I've managed to find out what gate it actually is.
My gate was A4 in Pier 1, which is one of the newly built piers here in Manchester. Unfortunately, my aircraft was circling around for around 20 minutes before eventually landing and taking another 15 minutes to taxi to the gate. My aircraft for today is a 3-year-old Airbus A321neo, which is one of the flagship narrow-body aircraft in Egyptair's fleet. Egyptair is handled by Swissports here in Manchester, and thankfully they managed to turn the aircraft around relatively quickly, as the aircraft had arrived pretty late, and soon enough we began to board.
So the aircraft is finally landed. It was circling the Manchester airspace for quite some time before landing, so it's a little bit delayed. Hopefully they can catch up later in the turnaround. There also is a crew change which could take a bit of time, but as you can see behind me, jet ridge is on, the baggage handlers are there. Swissport, the handling agency for Egyptair at Manchester, so hopefully they can give us a very quick turnaround and we can hopefully start boarding soon. Boarding it is quite busy. I think it is a full flight. So hopefully they can board the flight quickly because there isn't much time for our departure time.
Upon boarding, I received a welcome from the crew and headed to my seat. The Egyptair A321neo comes with 16 business class recliner seats in a 2-2 configuration, which is similar to the ones I saw on my Turkish Airlines flights last October on their A321neos. The economy class is set out in the usual 3-3 layout. Luckily, I managed to snag the bulkhead with extra legroom. For some reason, the first row started as row 20, which I found weird, so if you're looking for a good seat, I would totally recommend rows 20, 38 and 39, as these have really good amounts of legroom. Unfortunately, the cabin wasn't in the best condition, with my seats having some stains, but I think this was slightly due to the quick rush to turn the aircraft around. In front there is an average size screen for economy with a USB-A and headphone jack ports. In the armrest you'll find the tray table which folds out, which is a nice benefit of sitting in the bulkhead, as it makes it easier to leave the seats whilst the tray table is open. The armrest also has additional headphone jack so that you don't have to stretch it from the screen in front, along with the universal outlets under the seats. The seat itself has an average recline with a headrest, however I couldn't tell whether it was not adjustable or just stiff. The seats also have a small coat hook on the sides. Something that is unfortunately becoming increasingly rarer these days are individual air vents, which is amazing to see on this aircraft as the temperature did get quite warm during the flight. The in-flight entertainment is quite poor compared with other competing airlines in the region such as Turkish Airlines, Qatar Airways and Emirates. There is a selection of movies and TV shows, but I wouldn't say it is much to keep you occupied for a longer flight. I myself didn't find anything that I wanted to watch, however the map is quite good, especially as there is a pilot's hood, which I always like to see. I would also say that the IFE is more concentrated on Arabic content rather than Western and English content, which is unfortunate considering that Egyptair has a large European and growing transatlantic network. Boarding did take quite some time unfortunately, which added to the delay. However, due to this delay we had missed our departure slots, meaning that we had to sit on the ground for a good 20 minutes until we had pushed back. After around 1 hour and 45 minutes delayed, we finally took off bound for Cairo. After takeoff, the cabin crew handed out headphones, which I think should have been placed at every seat just like most of the airlines do. They also handed out some blankets and pillows, but these were only upon request. The headphones weren't the best quality, similar to many other economy headphones that you'd get on most of the carriers. I'd recommend bringing your own pair if you have some. If not, the ones provided will still do the job. Around an hour into the flight, the main meal service began with a choice of chicken, beef or fish. I opted for the chicken, which came with sides of a salad, a small sticky toffee pudding and a small bread roll with cheese and butter. There was also a selection of drinks to choose from, consisting of soft drinks and a variety of juices. Unfortunately, Egyptair doesn't provide metal cutlery in economy, which would be nice to see as it is very common to see with other Middle Eastern carriers. That's what the beef looks like, as I managed to get a quick glimpse of it. I'd say both the presentation and the quality are really good, and Egyptair really surprised me with the meals, as I hadn't heard many great things about their catering in the past. The beef option was some sort of stew with rice and vegetables, whereas the chicken that I ordered was more of a roast chicken breast with potatoes, carrots, beans and a really nice gravy. Honestly, this meal tasted amazing. The chicken was flavourful and tender, the dessert was sweet, and the salad, well, it was a salad. The only thing that I can say that could improve this a bit more is that I think the portions were a bit small, but that's honestly about it. After I had finished, the crew came round again, but not to take any rubbish, but this was the tea and coffee service which they use the teacups on the tray for. It's always nice to see another service like this on a flight, and also to be served tea or coffee in a proper cup rather than a disposable cup in economy.
So after the meal service, the crew came round again after I'd finished, but they didn't take my meal. The airline said they offered tea or coffee, which is nice to see on a 5-hour flight. I was wondering what that tea was on my tray, and whether they were just taking go with tea or coffee depending on what you want, or they can just leave it if you want anything. I think it would be better if you pick up your whole meal and all your rubbish first before tea or coffee. Like Turkish Airlines, it's a bit better than one on the table, more comfortable, and I think it would be better to space out a little bit more, but at the same time passengers might want to sleep, so doing it all together would be ideal. But it's nice to see that they also have a tea and coffee service. You know, not a lot of airlines don't really do 2 services on a 5-hour flight, but it is good to see.
Egyptair also offers Wi-Fi with different packages including free texting and messaging, which I found to be useful. However, this did seem to be quite slow. For $25 there was 500 megabytes of data available to purchase, but I felt that it was quite overpriced. As the sun began to set, it also became really difficult to look out the windows as they were very dirty, probably due to the amount of time they spend on the ground in Cairo. Egyptair's A321neo has 3 lavatories for economy, with 2 being at the rear and 1 being in the middle of the cabin next to the exits behind the wing, which I've never seen on a narrowbody before. After the meal service there were a lot of queues for the toilets, so sitting near these might be slightly uncomfortable. The lavatory in the middle of the cabin was probably one of the smallest I've ever seen and wasn't kept clean throughout the flight, but it did include some amenities. As for the cabin crew, I found them to be quite welcoming, but there's still a lot of improvement that could be made to build better relations with the passengers and to be a bit more helpful. One of the cabin crew called MENA was looking after me. He always had a smile on his face and was always open to helping out passengers with some issues or requests. For the remainder of the flight, the sun began to set and the cabin lights were dimmed so that passengers could get some sleep. Around an hour until landing, the crew came round once again for a pre-landing snack, which really left me impressed, as I'd never seen this on a medium-haul flight. This was just a quick handout of some salted pretzels along with some juice. Not too long later, we began our descent over Cairo before eventually landing. After landing, we taxied to a bus gate, which is an abgeek I don't mind as it gets an amazing view of the aircraft, but as the pilot was trying to park up, there was no one to marshal the aircraft in, so we waited on the taxiway for around 5 minutes before eventually parking up. As soon as the seatbelt sign turned off, everyone as usual leapt up to try and make their way to the door, but there was not a single ground handler on the ramp outside, meaning that no steps were connected, and so we waited to deboard for more than 20 minutes. Not a great start to my trip to Egypt. However, my experience only began to go further downhill from here. After after taking a bus to the main terminal, I was met by a large crowd of people swarming trying to get through passport control. The airport was so overcrowded and organised that it ended up taking just an hour to get through.
What the hell?
Furthermore, after this, there was not a single bag from the Manchester flights on the baggage carousel for at least another hour, meaning that by the time the bags began to appear, my flights had landed over 2 hours ago. Not only this, but none of the staff bothered to help and were very careless. Bear in mind that Egyptair's flights are all handled by them and not by another ground handling agency. Anyways, I'll stop this rant now, but that was pretty much my entire experience with Egyptair from Manchester to Cairo. Altogether, I think that Egyptair is a solid airline. Of course, there is a lot of room for improvement, especially their ground services, and certain parts of their hard products such as the in-flight entertainment and cabin cleanliness. I was really impressed with the catering, and I hope the airline will continue to improve this along with other aspects of the experience. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe along with turning on notifications to keep up to date with new content. Thanks for watching and happy travels!